He signed on the line, and finally, all was fine.
The best way for the Republicans to win is if I win the nomination and go directly against whoever they happen to put up. And for that reason, I have signed the pledge. Yeah. So I will be totally pledging my allegiance to the Republican Party and the conservative principles for which it stands.
Hooray! The pledge means endorsing the Republican nominee and bars a third-party run. It's like mommy and daddy finally making up, and all the shouting stops for now. The good news, the pledge forces everyone, Donald included, to take the campaign seriously. He has to be less pundit and, sadly, more political. He can't just keep saying China until his face explodes.
Let's say China. China.
China.
China. China. China.
China.
I'm not angry at China.
We're going to take our money back from China, and China's going to like us.
Look at China.
And by the way, not just China.
China. China.
China. China all the time.
Yes. The bad news, he just sold out to the evil rhinos. The outsider has now hopped inside. Now, obviously, the pledge is not a legally binding document. It's one step above a blood oath in a treehouse made by two kids in knee socks. And we all know Donald only signs deals with escape hatches. A big fan of the prenup, his success is in maintaining a plausible way out. And here it is in the Washington Post. Trump's priority is to be treated with respect by the national GOP. If that relationship should ever sour, he could consider changing his mind. Now, that does not sound like in sickness or in health. But as we ponder Trump going third party, why not second? After all, Trump could rule as a Dem, a party that's all pantsuit, no cattle. Trump's for higher taxes, a trade war, defends Planned Parenthood and single payer. Talk about a persuasive candidate. He's turned millions of righties into lefties. So while I'm glad he signed the pledge, pledges are meant to be broken. Remember, no new taxes lasted as long as a fruit fly's puberty. In sum, the only good pledge is the kind that polishes your wood or the one that fetches you beer at a kegger. All right.
I got the last one. I just got it, like the freshman pledging.
And the other one, the pledge you spray on your furniture.
Well, that I got.
I got to credit Ben Craw, HuffPo, for the China montage, which was beautiful. Eric, what do you make of the pledge? Positive development? Push?
I'm baffled that the real upside that Donald Trump was gaining was that he was an establishment.
Right.
He was part of the not part of the D.C. elite. Mm-hmm. There must be something in it. Now, I know he came right out of the box and said, I didn't get anything for it. Well, one of the things he does get is that I guess now that he will have to be on the South Carolina ballot, right, which they could have held back from him. But for me, Donald Trump wouldn't have needed that for some reason. It just felt weird. I think there's more. I don't know what it is. It's either going to be, email lists are very important. They're worth a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It may not have been a financial number, but an email list is huge. Infrastructure. Maybe he'll get infrastructure in states that he doesn't have infrastructure. But Donald doesn't do anything without getting something in return. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm not sure I buy into him saying, there's nothing in it for me. There's always got to be something in it for him, in my opinion.
It's a good point, because he is sacrificing kind of the outsider status. By the way, you are commenting for 2 today. So, do you think he's going to stick with this?
You know, I'm like you. I'm shocked that he actually did this, but I think what he's getting in return is the fact that he's getting loyalty from the voters. He's showing that he's loyal to the Republican Party. I think that Reince Priebus, his objective is to say, we need a Republican in the White House. Doesn't matter who it is. Mm-hmm. I'd prefer this person or that person, maybe, but we need a Republican instead of a Democrat. So that was his goal. I think Donald's goal here is to say, I'm going to be true to this party that I'm representing, and I'm going to show the voters out there that I am loyal and I'm going to do the right thing. And I'm shocked, because this is different than what he pledged in that first debate.
Right. You talked to DT earlier.
45 minutes yesterday. He only gave Reince Priebus, the RNC chair, 15 minutes today.
Wow. He likes you
right,
3 times more.
At least 3 times more. So this is the deal that helps Reince Priebus, because he is the desperate one. He is the one fearful that an independent run by Donald Trump would really torpedo the Republican Party, maybe make it obsolete in future years. But I'll tell you what is at play here. I have no doubt that Donald Trump signs this because Donald Trump is sure now that he is going to be the nominee. As I said here a couple of weeks ago, he's going to be the nominee. Why not throw this bone to the established party? I think the reasons that Eric lists, the pragmatic reasons, the state primary listing and so forth, the list and all that kind of infrastructure stuff are true. But I think basically what you are seeing here is a very confident candidate who wishes the election was yesterday, and he has nothing to lose because he knows he's going to be the Republican nominee.
He's not the only one who wishes it was yesterday. Jedediah, do you think it was a good move? I know you're not a fan of pledges.
I'm not. I wouldn't have signed it if I were running for president, just because I wouldn't want the RNC dictating to me what I can and can't do. And I think the people who really love Donald Trump are going to vote for Donald Trump, whether he signed the pledge or not. But if he was going to be loyal to his real core constituency, those people that are really passionate about him, I think those people would have loved for him to tell the RNC to take a walk and say, look, I'm loyal to my own principles. I'm loyal to myself. I'm not necessarily loyal to the RNC. It depends on what the RNC does. Are you going to back big government Republicans? If I don't win, is the candidate who comes up front and center going to be a big government Republican? Could it be a Pataki? I don't know if I'd want to support that guy. I think that when I was looking on Twitter last night and seeing the feedback, I tweeted out that I would not have signed that pledge, and I got a whole wave of people saying absolutely he shouldn't do it. With that being said, though, I think the people who love him, there's nowhere else for them to go. They don't love anybody else, so they're going to back him no matter what.
Two quick thoughts. So he comes to the podium and he says, I've signed this. And he holds up the paper. And it's kind of like, a little bit of clapping to your point that no matter what Donald Trump does, his hardcore supporters are going to support him. Had he walked up to that and said, ripped it in half.
Well, that would have been news.
It would have been news. It would have been all over the place. His supporters would have been crazy. They would have gone nuts for him. But did you notice that shot? Producers, can you put that shot up again? Look at that shot. Look at the background in that shot. That is
millennials.
It's millennials. It's young people. It's minorities. It's
everybody. You don't think that's a random crowd?
I
don't think they just happen to be behind
it. That's my point.
That's wasn't a central casting.
That's my point. That's what he's going for right now. He's going for the bigger picture, the bigger Republican.
That's what President Obama did by putting doctors behind him.
No, and I get that's why I do it. But in the past, he never did that before. How many times have we interviewed Donald Trump at his place over there? It was whoever showed up, and it would. I'll be perfectly honest with you. The crowd didn't look like that.
Isn't it interesting how many young people he has supporting him? If you go on his social media sites, he has the ability to just swipe a few numbers or letters, and he can tweet something out, and millions of people see it. He doesn't even need to have negative campaign ads because he can just tweet. If Jeb Bush says something he doesn't like, he just tweets it, and millions of people see it. It's unbelievable. And do you remember the Fox poll? This was months ago. Someone went out in Times Square, and they asked who's going to win. And every single person, except 2% of the people polled, did not know who Donald Trump was. All the other candidates, some of them were coming in at like 50%. People didn't know who they were. Yeah. So it
helps to have a TV show on for 8 or 9 years. Let's see what
no time like prime time.
Yeah, exactly.
True, right?
Here are the other candidates, what they were saying about signing a pledge.
If you run, you can't be a sore loser and then run as an independent if you don't win the nomination. So I have no problem with it. I obviously will sign the pledge.
Will you sign it?
Yes, and the thing is I signed a pledge when I ran for the U.S. Senate because they asked me would I drop out and run as a third party or would I support the nominee, and I do believe you have to support the nominee.
Yeah, I would, of course. Of course I would. We need to be unified. We need to win.
Is that good? Thoughts?
Seeing Governor Bush, having to swallow his pride and say that, knowing the surveys all show Trump with 3 times his polling support, must have really irked the former Florida.
But they can also back out too, right?
Yeah, everybody can.
Your point to be pledges being what.
But look at the news they got. They dominated. We led the show with this fake event.
Yeah.
I mean, really, this was a made-for-TV event.
It really was.
Those other guys didn't have a press conference when they signed the pledge.
Isn't it kind of hokey?
Chris Christie looked through his papers and said, "Oh yeah, I signed it 4 months ago."
This was done at Kinko's.
This is what it is. Exactly.
And the date was off. Why was the date off?
Greg, can we talk about what this really is? It's not a piece of paper with pledge written on it. You know what this is? This is fear. This is the RNC fearful of Donald Trump. That's why this paper was printed.
Yeah.
That's why we're talking about it.
Don't you love,
nothing else other than a pledge has to do with making sure Donald Trump doesn't upend the ship.
But he takes I pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the. That's what having no prompter does.
Yeah, that was a bit sarcastic. Was he being sarcastic?
I hope so.
Yeah. Can I roll? Probably the most powerful part of this press conference was when he addressed the other candidate in the room.
Kanye West?
Kanye West. You know what? I'll never say bad about him. You know why? Because he loves Trump. He loves Trump. He goes around saying, Trump is my all-time hero. He says it to everybody. So Kanye West, I love him. Now, maybe in a few years I'll have to run against him. I don't know. So I'll take that back.
You know what? The funny thing about Trump, and this is what makes him honest, he likes you as long as you like him.
Yes.
So he goes, I like the guy because he says nice things about me. That's in the heart of every human being, but they will never admit it.
If you ever watch him on Twitter, he's always praising everyone's performance. Great job on TV, fantastic. And then you go and watch the segment, it's because that person was saying Donald Trump's the best. He's the guy to lead the nation. So yeah, but you know what? You're right. He's tapping into something that's very basic and very human. We all
Our
do
ego.
it. Yes, it's true. Only he's not afraid to put it front and center.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to say, look, this is part of human nature, and the guy likes me, and hey, well, you know what? That's cool. I like him too.
But if the moment he says something bad, it's over.
Kanye, no more Kanye music.
Isn't the real question whether or not that tactic has mitigated or reduced, minimized criticism?
Absolutely.
Has he scared away the critics by that tactic? If you like me, I love you. If you don't like me, I'm gonna.
It's a nice blanket.
Right.
It's a blanket.
Well, look what happens to the presidential candidates that criticize him strongly. Their numbers just seem to sink, whereas the ones that seem to back him seem to rise.
People see him as like the king of the fraternity.
Right.
You want to be in the fraternity? Then you like Donald Trump. You want to be an outsider? Then you don't like.
They're
him.
his
You know what I
pledges.
did like about him? I like that he answers so many questions, and he was answering questions about Kanye West. He was answering questions. Someone asked if his daughter or his kids were going to be part of the administration. He said probably not, but maybe. They're they're smart individuals. I think he just has an open dialogue. And
here's an interesting thing, though. That you got the Monmouth poll. Did I say that correctly?
Monmouth.
Why do all these polls come from weird-sounding places like Quinnipiac? Why can't it be called Johnson?
They're trying to challenge
both
you,
Quinnipiac
Don't make
and
a joke.
Monmouth are
All right.
good small colleges.
Trump dominating at 30%.
Right.
All other candidates are way far behind, and he beat everybody. But there's one weird standout, and it's Ben Carson.
Yeah.
If he's head-to-head with Ben Carson, Carson creams him at 55-36. That's the one matchup.
Yes.
That's different. Why?
Both outsiders, and
Yeah.
what's stunning about it is their delivery is polar opposite. Ben Carson is so soft-spoken, and he has this very stoic demeanor, and he's not combative.
I have a different take, totally.
But he's also a regular guy. He's a doctor. He comes from outside the political
I'm
sphere.
reminded of David Dinkins, the first black mayor of New York City, who, when people were polled, was killing Rudy Giuliani in their second matchup. And then when Election Day came, obviously Giuliani beat Dinkins. I think a lot of Republicans polled by Monmouth are giving the politically correct answer. And I hate to say that Dr. Ben Carson is
African American.
I think it's all about being the black neurosurgeon, brilliant guy.
You feel that way
that
about Obama? People voted for Obama because he was black?
Obama was the least black guy you could possibly
see, I haven't heard anyone talk about his race. I've just heard people say he's very smart. They like him because he's anti-establishment. He is different from someone that we've had before. I haven't heard anyone talk about race. Have you at dinner parties?
No.
Or
Well,
among
do
your
you
friends?
think? Well, because he is so soft-spoken, then why do you think he is getting 18%?
Because he's more
three
like,
times more than the other.
Because I'll tell you, because he's more like the other candidates. So if you're originally going to vote for Jeb Bush or Ted Cruz or any of the other candidates, and they're not in the race anymore, and now it's between Carson and Trump, they're going to vote for Carson because he's more like the others. Does that make sense?
More likable, maybe?
He's
Maybe
very
so.
likable.
And if he becomes president, you don't need to have a presidential doctor because he's his own doctor.
What is this, brain
Surgeon
surgery?
General, right
Exactly.
there.
Cuts one job right there.